tell me about this tree, Nelson. What do we got here?
This is Araucaria bidwellii. It's from Australia. It's a Bunya tree. The tree actually gets these big cones on it that weigh about 25 pounds, and the cones drop August through September, so at any moment now a cone might drop out of the tree and hit me on the head if I'm not careful.
And so I know they got some of these in Berkeley where they actually have to close a street during the cone ripening. Show us the scale from that.
This is one of the seeds from the cone. You know, you can see one of the scales right there. It looks like a big pineapple is what it looks like.
Or like it's a giant pine cone that's real tight, and that's like a pine cone leaf sort of almost, right?
Yeah, and the fruits, they almost taste like an almond. You can roast them, and usually the Aborigines, when they're going to war and all that, when the bunyas start dropping the cones, they stop fighting and they start gathering bunyas, because that's something they do every year, and to store them as a good food source.
I think probably one of the strangest things that ever happened to me as a horticulturalist was when Nelson asked me to grow some bunyas. And so I gathered up seeds and we planted them and all, and the seedlings came up, but then they died back on me, and I thought the plants were dead. And I went and I did some research, and when I was going to throw the pots out, underneath the ground I found these little things like potatoes, okay? And I realized that this tree is so primitive. I mean, this goes back to the days, you know, Jurassic Park and all this, okay? These dinosaur food. This is dinosaur food, okay? And the tree makes a tubercle. When you put the seed in, it germinates, it comes up, and then it produces like a potato under the ground. Everything else dies back, and the next year, the tubercle, it's called, sprouts atop to come up. Somehow this probably preserved it against predation or something.
It's like an umbilical cord falling off it, and a new tree comes up. And they're in decline. They used to plant them back in the Victoria era. They're very beautiful, symmetrical trees. This tree was, the head got knocked out in a storm about 20 years ago, but it's starting to come back. You don't see them around. A lot of people will walk into them and go, "Ah, that hurts."
Oh yeah, it hurts.
Take that tree out, you know.
Oh, it hurts.
And but actually, it's a dinosaur tree. It's a Jurassic Park prehistoric tree. And in Union City, we've planted many of them to come back, bring them back. And this is a mother tree for all the trees that we planted in Union City along the railroad tracks, in areas where people don't walk, park, or hike, or have picnics. Out of the way.
This one was planted by John Rock, right?
Yeah, this was planted a long time ago.
And so Rock was one of the pioneer nurserymen here in California.
And this guy had polished integrity, excellent businessman, very honest. People relied on his knowledge. The governments relied on his knowledge. And but he passed away in 1904, buried in the Chapel of the China Cemetery in Union City.
And so this California nurseries that we're standing in right now, that this was one of the original nurseries on the West Coast, and it's also where many of the grapes, the olive trees, the plum trees, and all that made the fruit basket of California's interior valley started here.
Yeah, they had a large 60-acre scion orchard over here. They do their budding at scion wood, hundreds and hundreds of different varieties of fruit trees. There's another 36-acre orchard that was over here. And the remnants of that orchard still back there.
Well, in fact, if those of you who have watched my video on pruning apricots, that was in Rock's nursery for the orchards, and that's where Nelson attempted to replant some of the lost trees to the old plan back there so it wouldn't be lost.
Yep.
And over here, though, let's go up this tree. Take a look up here. I'm understanding that these trees were in competition with long-necked dinosaur. That the animals like Brontosaurus, for instance, had these huge long necks. Not only is this foliage really spiny, and so it's hard for anything to get near it, but the trees kept getting taller and taller as dinosaur kept evolving longer and longer and longer necks. This at least is a theory. I like it. It's a good one. This is definitely back from the age of giant dragonflies and things. This is just a fossil living history in all layers, all sorts of layers.